Hey everybody, Mr. Morel here again today. And in this video, finally, months of learning about matrices is finally going to pay off as we finally combine systems of equations, how to solve them with a matrix. We've been talking about it forever. It's kind of exciting. Here we go. All right, so before we do this, what I wanted to do is just a quick review, a reminder about multiplying. And I wanted to point out that the order you multiply matrices absolutely matters. For example, this first equation, or sorry, this equation, we have a 2 by 2. Oh, that doesn't look like a 2. A 2 by, or a by, it doesn't matter. And then over here we have a 2 by 1. I'm struggling here. The inside 2's tell us we can multiply. The answer is going to be a 2 by 1. So I can multiply. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me get my pen back here. So it looks like we would have 1 times 5 plus negative 2 times 6. And in fact, now that you know how to type these in your calculator, you could just go ahead and multiply these out in your calculator. But I'm just going to keep going. So we have 5 plus negative 12, I think is negative 7. Okay, and then we have 15 plus negative 24. I think that's negative 9. I've got my calculator here for the lesson. Let me just double check that. So 15 plus negative 24, yeah, negative 9. Okay, so when these are written in this order, you can multiply it. This is the answer you get. But when we come over here, notice a 2 by 1 and a 2 by 2 isn't even possible. So this answer does not exist. Now the reason I say this is it's going to come up in the lesson. I'll point out when we get there. Okay, so last lesson we learned how to convert a system of equations to an equation of matrices. So we're going to do that here. So let's say that we want to solve this system of equations. First thing we're going to do, this is going to be a three-part system. First thing is we're going to convert the system into matrices. Okay, so let's do that first. Remember my kind of hints before where x's go on the left, y's go on the right. As long as they're on the correct side of the equal sign in the system, we can just write down the coefficients. So 3, negative 2, 1, 3, x, oops, that's an x, whatever, y, and then we have a 14 and a 1. Okay, so step 1 to solving a system with matrices is to convert. The second step is going to be to find the inverse. Now, if you have a graphing calculator, just use that. If you don't have a graphing calculator, remember we would find the determinant, swap A and D, change the signs on B and C, divide by the determinant. Okay, but I'm assuming you've got your graphing calculator or an app on your phone to help you out. And so we would get this as your inverse. Now, step 3 is going to be interesting. This is where all the magic happens. In order to find the solution to this system of equations, so we converted, we inverted, now we're going to multiply. Basically, we're going to take the inverse matrix and multiply it by the matrix of the constants at the end of the system. And if we multiply these together, you can go ahead and just use your graphing calculator to do that, you would get the answer. So I'm actually going to go ahead and type these things into my calculator. I'll try to say entertaining things while we go, and maybe you should do the same. So you can go ahead and set up this, go ahead and type in this matrix in your calculator, and then times the next matrix, okay? So let me go ahead and do this really fast. I'm trying to not talk because I'm dyslexic and I don't want to get my numbers backwards. And let's see. Oh, almost there. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I pushed the wrong button. It helps when you push the, did you know that? It helps when you push the right button. And I got the answer 4, negative 1. So it's going to tell you in matrix form the numbers 4, negative 1. Now what I'm going to show you is that that actually is the ordered pair 4, negative 1. Oops. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I keep pushing bad buttons and I'm having computer issues. And okay, so we just solved a system of equations by converting, inverting, and multiplying. Now, you might feel like this is a lot of work to find the inverse. I'm going to even shorten our steps, but before I do that, I want to show you why this is the way it is. Okay, so imagine we have our system of equations as a bunch of matrices like this. Okay, now we talked about an inverse matrix and the importance of an inverse. In fact, we've spent an entire unit talking about an inverse matrix. So the idea here is we're trying to get x and y by itself. In a normal equation, you might think, well, let's divide by this matrix here. Well, what does dividing matrices even look like? Multiplying is super complicated. Dividing is going to be even worse. So what we're doing instead of dividing by that matrix is we're multiplying it by the inverse. Remember, the whole point of an inverse is that any matrix times its inverse is going to get you the 1, 0, 0, 1 matrix. Now, whatever we do to one side of an equation, we have to do to the other. And what I want to point out here is, notice, we multiplied the left side of the left part of the equation. So we're on the left side of the equation, and we're multiplying on the left side of the left side. So in matrix world, you can't just flip things. Like I can't just multiply the right side over here by the inverse. I have to multiply the right side of the matrix on the left. Here's what I mean. There it is. Okay. So since we were on the left over here, I have to multiply it on the left over here because the rule of matrices is the order does matter. All right. So with that in mind, we started with the original equation. We wanted to multiply the left side by the inverse, but we had to multiply over here as well on the left. And then, because any matrix times its inverse is 1, 0, 0, 1, then we have 1, 0, 0, 1, xy equals 4, negative 1. And the whole point of an identity matrix, the 1, 0, 0, 1 matrix, is that this times xy is just xy. So this is telling us that xy equals 4, negative 1. You can kind of see that things are lining up. X is 4, y is negative 1. Okay? All right, so let's take one more shortcut, and we're going to do two more. So in your calculators, here's your shortcut. Again, the idea is that we're going to convert, invert, multiply. All right, so let me help you out with that. We can go ahead and convert. Now, to convert this into a bunch of matrices, that's going to be negative 2, 1. Okay, our x's and our y's are in good places. A 1 and a negative 4. Okay, so we just converted this matrix here. Next, we're going to invert. So yeah, you could do the work and type in your matrix and get the inverse and then retype in the inverse. But why? We have a button for that. So we convert. We're going to invert by pushing the inverse button on our matrix. And finally, we're going to multiply by the last 2. So what I'm saying is you can look at a system of equations, hold your calculator in your hand, and as long as you're pretty good about checking that your coefficients are in the right place, that your constants are after the equal sign, stuff like that, you can convert the first matrix, type the inverse button, and then convert, or then you multiply it by these last numbers here. So let's go ahead and do that in our calculators. Okay, so I got to get my matrix out, and I'm just typing in exactly what you see on the screen. And on your homework, because we want to know that you know what you're doing, we're going to ask that you type into Edulastic what it is you're typing into your calculator. Okay, so I already have that stuff there, so matrix. And then we're going to just go ahead and multiply. Got my last one there. And when I do that, I ended up getting the answer. Let me go ahead and put this in purple, I guess. The answer that the calculator is telling me is the matrix 2, 1. But if we're looking at a system of equations, we can't just write the answer as a matrix. The answer needs to be the ordered pair 2, 1. So you're going to have to take that final step. But hey, look, how cool is that? It told us our X number and our Y number all in one swoop, and all we had to do was just type in the first matrix inverse times the second matrix, enter, it's done. Okay. Oh, I should have put this answer right here. So, oh my heck, what a great video this is. So the final answer is the ordered pair 2, 1. Okay. Now you got to be careful. Sometimes you might get an error. If you do get an error, it's probably because this matrix doesn't have an inverse. And if a matrix doesn't have an inverse, it's either no solutions or infinite solutions. You would have to take the next step to figure out which one it is. All right, let's do one more, okay? So again, the 3 steps: convert, invert, multiply. All right, so the first step, oh, it looks like this one's not going to be super straightforward. So I've got my x and my y, okay? So looking here, this x is on the wrong side, so I need to change the sign. It's going to be -3. My y is a 1. Then a -2, that x is on the right side. This -5, because that y is on the correct side. So I'm going to just type that in my calculator. Then I'm going to push the inverse button. And then I need to also type in, you could type in the multiplication sign or not. It'll be implied if you don't. So we have a -4 is the constant. It's on the correct side of the equal sign over here. And a -1 right there. Okay, so you guys might have already had that typed in. Let me go ahead and type that in really fast. I got -3, 1, -2, -5, inverse, and then 4, -1. I push enter, and I think I'm right. I have a crazy fraction here, so I'm going to push math, enter, enter, convert that back into an answer. I'm getting, oh man, I sure hope, let me just triple check. I got to make sure I typed everything in right. I think I did. We got -3, 1, -4, -2, -5, yeah. So that's one of the beautiful things about this is you could get crazy answers. So double check me. I could be so wrong. I'm nervous. I think I'm right though. I got 21/17 for my x number and -5/17. So I'm getting this matrix here. I would want to write that as 21/17. Imagine getting that answer using substitution or elimination. You would hate me so bad. -5/17. Parentheses. There we go. Kind of cool. All right. Now, I don't even think I'm going to do a video for your next lesson because your next lesson is going to be to do this with 3 variables or 4 variables. I just want to see if you could take these exact same things that we've been learning and do it with 3 and 4 variables. Should be the same thing, only instead of a 2x2, you're going to be typing in a 3x3 and a 4x4. And imagine trying to do that with substitution and elimination. It is not pleasant. Anyway, I hope that this video was helpful for you all. Thank you for watching. I really hope I got that last answer right. I'm getting paranoid about it, but I think it's right. Anyway, take care. Have a good night. Bye.